Hey y'all, you're about to watch Composting 101 video, which thank you for checking it out. But I wanted to do a little announcement before you dive in. I'm going to be doing some giveaways on our Instagram account, Baker's Backyard Bounty. So go ahead and follow along over there and you can enter in to win some fun garden goodies and seeds. All right, back to it. Hey guys, what's up? It's Noelle with Baker's Backyard Bounty, and today I have some backup singers, my chicken chorus. So if they get too loud, we'll definitely skedaddle to a quieter place. But what today's video is all about is Composting 101. I put out cast a net out on Instagram. What do you guys want to know more about in the garden? And this was one of the responses, is how to compost. So I thought we would just dive in. Composting is way easier than a lot of people think, and it's way less smelly than a lot of people think. So we'll go through that today of how to create healthy compost, what you can put in, what you can't put in, and then I'll show you a few different methods of how to make it work for your environment. So I realize not everyone is in a house with a yard, not everyone owns their house, some people are renting, some people live in apartments, and so just know that composting doesn't just live on a farm, right? It can be adaptable to where you're at. So step one is, and this applies to really any environment that you live in, step one is collecting food scraps. So really what compost is just a healthy breakdown of organic matter that can then be added to your garden beds or your pots or your patio garden in order to improve the soil. So it breaks down all of the organic matter into just this nutritious coffee ground like material, dirt, right, that can then be recycled. So it's a beautiful way to create a closed loop and decrease the amount of food waste, decrease the amount of potting soil and fertilizers that you're buying. You have it all right in your kitchen, and that's just the best part. Okay, so step one is collecting food waste. Okay, this is a kitchen crock. You can find them on Amazon. They're really not that expensive. I think we even got this one at like Bed Bath & Beyond for 20 something bucks. What it is it's a steel container. You can see I got some stuff going in here with this lid, and I'm not doing it justice because the lid actually has this insert. I believe it has charcoal in it, so it absorbs the smell that may be coming off of the food that you're holding in here. And sometimes that happens, like if you put something in there, maybe leave it on the counter for a couple of days, it could start to kind of smell, or like bananas, you know, they have a pungent smell. Anyway, so the charcoal, it's just kind of like this thin disc, like a pancake that you set in there, and you can replace those. So you can buy those separately to replace. And we've done that lots of times. I just ran out of them recently. But that goes on your kitchen sink. It can go underneath your kitchen counter as long as you don't forget about it. But this is the easiest way that I have found to collect waste. If you don't want to spend 20 something bucks, that's totally fine. You could even use just a bowl that you throw your eggshells, coffee grounds, food scraps in, and take it out to your compost pile. So you don't have to use this, but we've really enjoyed it, and it looks nice sitting on your kitchen counter. It's just aesthetically pleasing. Now, what can I throw in my bad boy? Either your bowl or your kitchen crock. Well, really, you can throw in most food besides meat, dairy, and oily things. So like if you're gonna cook, let's say, fried cabbage in bacon grease, whatever's left over, you don't want to necessarily throw that in your compost, right? Because it has that like animal fat and that greasy oil on it. That's not good for the compost. So you don't want to put in meat or cheese, but what can go in is, or any milk, you don't want to put in any dairy really, but what can go in is fruit scraps, veggie scraps, like peelings. You can put in cardboard, paper materials like newspaper, coffee grounds. You can put in tea, but make sure the tea bag is biodegradable, or just like snip the top of the tea bag and pour the tea out into your compost pile. Sometimes those won't break down. I will say we don't add in onions, garlic, or citrus to ours because it doesn't break down very well. Avocados are also something that we've had a hard time breaking down, but we do throw them in. But just know that like when you pull out your compost to use, sometimes a pit will be there, sometimes the avocado shell will be there. Oh, and I think I mentioned this maybe, but eggshells you can put in there as well. And those add in, I believe it's calcium to the soil. So we always add in our eggshells. So really, oh, and no bread. I'm all over the place, y'all. Let's do a recap real quick. It's almost like I have mom brain or something. Okay, no-nos. Citrus, onions, meat, dairy, bread. Yes, yes. Fruit and veggie scraps, eggshells, coffee grounds, paper materials, cardboard, grass clippings, sticks. So that leads me into my next part about like green and brown matter. Okay, all these things that you've captured in here, these beautiful veggie and fruit scraps. Let's just see what I have in mind. I have a toilet paper roll, some avocados, bananas, some grapes, and some lettuce. Cool. That's my green material. Now, if you have all green material, that's not exactly the combination we want. You also want to add in some brown material, and that could be, like I said, the paper, the cardboard, grass clippings, some kind of dirt, like my old potting soil when it's dried out and it doesn't absorb water because I've used it too much. I'll throw in some potting soil in there. You could throw in like some wood chips. I actually put like toothpicks, any kind of like wood material in there. Popsicle sticks, when we're done, just rinse them off. I put that in our compost as well. And you can be really like high tech about this, and like rotate it every few days, and that's really groovy and cool, but I ain't got time for that. So what I do is I just mound things, okay? So I just believe in the compost gods that as long as it doesn't smell, it's doing its job. When you put it in a compost tumbler like I'm about to show you, or just make like a compost pile, or maybe you have like one of those Rubbermaid totes that has holes drilled in it that you put your compost in, whatever your container is, the compost is actually going to heat up over time. Oh my gosh, the most beautiful green lizard is going across the brick wall. I'll try and show you guys in a second. Shiny. Okay, whatever container you have it in, it's going to heat up because as the compost is breaking down, all these beautiful microbes are breaking down that organic matter. It's going to heat up, and it's actually like cooking your compost. So you do want that. You want it to heat up. Sometimes compost piles even like steam, which is kind of cool. Mine never has steam that I've seen, but just know that that is like very common. Okay, let's go check out the compost tumbler. Alright, I'm going to try and show you guys this beautiful lizard. Hey, lizard. This is your big debut. Say hey, YouTube world. Ugh, gorgeous. Okay, too much. Now, this is not the cutest corner of my yard, but whatever. It houses our compost tumbler. We've used this for years and years and years, and I actually got it on clearance at Lowe's. So pro tip, if the box looks like ripped up and like sun faded, ask for a discount because you know that it's been sitting out in that garden section for a long time, not being purchased. And that's exactly what I did. I'm like, this box is like destroyed. It looks like it's been rained on. Like, come on, help me out. I got a really good price on it. Again, you can find these online like Amazon, so on and so forth. But what the compost tumbler does is it has two compartments, or ours does, has two compartments. So one has a plus sign on the top where you add in material. The other one has a little clock symbol on it, which means weight. AKA the compost is cooking. So if you're constantly adding new material, it's going to be harder to get to that perfect coffee ground like material that you want to throw in your garden bed. And so it is helpful to have one pile cooking and one pile being added to. And then you just switch the lid and the one that you've been adding to begins to cook. And as you empty out that one that is ready, add in material, it becomes your new pile. I hope that makes sense. Basically, we are rotating. I just don't do it in like a very scientific or regimented pattern. It's just when I feel like it's ready, it smells ready, it smells like dirt, smells like earth, and it has that good texture, I know it's ready to be put onto the garden. So let's take a little closer look. Okay, so see, here is the plus sign. Here's the weight sign. I don't know if we have anything in here. Oh yeah, we do. Okay, so this is the weight. Reed actually puts all of our chicken bedding, which is just grass clippings that he saves from mowing the lawn. He puts that in their coop, and when it's all spent and pooped on and all that, he throws it in here. So we have a lot of that going on, and it's cooking right now. This side is the ad, which actually has just been cleared out. So we swapped the lid around. So now this is our fresh pile and this is the weight. Okay, so you just slide this out and switch it around. It's really easy. Be careful if it rains, because water has definitely flown all over me when I spin it and not paying attention. But I just simply grab onto one of these little hooks or nooks and crannies, give it a good spin. There you go. And again, we're not very scientific about it. We don't do it like twice a day. We just do it whenever we come out and feed it, which is every couple of days. Our compost tumbler got so heavy that the metal actually started sinking into the ground, especially when it rained. So we just put like some cement, concrete blocks underneath it for it to sit on, and that's worked out really well for us. And then as you can see here on the side of it, it has these vents. You can close it. That's just going to heat up your compost more and cook it a little quicker, but we leave it open just to get some airflow in there, because we don't necessarily want things to be like stifling. Okay, so we've gone through the composting crock. That's what you use inside your house. The composting tumbler, which is nice if you live in like a suburban area like us, and maybe you're not making a ton of compost for a huge garden, but you just want to recycle your food scraps and use it on maybe your potted plants or your small garden beds. We have outgrown our compost tumbler because we need more compost for the amount of food that we're trying to grow back here. And so what I did is I took some cattle panels that we used to use to pin in our chickens and made them into little compost tunnels. Compost, I don't know what you'd call them, columns perhaps. So I'll take you guys over there to check those out now. This is hilarious. I always think about with like YouTubers or influencers, like the behind the scenes of the good shot that they got. This is a tree branch that's hanging down that I have you like configured on to shoot this. It looks pretty funny. So anyways, what I have over here are my two composting tunnels, bins, whatever. It's really like not professional, but who cares? We don't need that. We just need good compost for the ground. So don't overthink these things. Okay, I took this large cattle panel, oh, there's my cute look on my shoes, and just wrapped it around and zip tied it. So they're actually like these teardrop shapes, okay? So I just used about 4 zip ties to hold the edges together. So like that edge and then the other edge of this. One of them is just waiting for more compost, but we've been feeding this pile, and I'm not trying to fill this all the way up. The bottom down here has chicken wire so that it will hold everything in a little better, because these spaces are pretty big. Things could just kind of start falling out. But the idea is that I'm trying to pile all this organic matter, my brown matter, my grass clippings, my chicken coop scraping outs, our kitchen scraps, our toilet paper rolls, all of that is going into this pile to just sit and break down into this really nice dirt that we can throw on our garden beds. And just like with cooking, or this is my style, you have to just like trust yourself and kind of like hone your skills over time. We've been composting for quite a while, a few years, just because we didn't want to waste so much good food, organic matter. So you'll know, like, it's not supposed to have a smell, it's not supposed to be stinky, it's not supposed to be moldy, it's not supposed to be like, sometimes mine is covered in mushrooms whenever it rains a lot, but it's not supposed to be like rancid in any way, okay? That's how you know that the biology is not working together properly. So what I do in those instances when it does stink, or it seems like things are starting to like mold or so on and so forth, is I add more brown matter. So I go and get newspapers and shred them, or I go get more grass clippings or dead leaves or cardboard, things like that I add in, and that tends to neutralize any of that like nastiness. The last thing I want to show you guys, and this is not the first time I've made content on it, but it kind of falls into the realm of composting, is creating a worm bin. There's a fancy name for it, verma something something, but it's a worm bin, okay? And what we're doing is we're using like the natural tendencies and attributes of worms to break down organic matter and poop it back out to create what we call worm castings, which is really just like worm poop. And worm poop, it's not stinky, y'all, it's not weird. So what I did is I purchased, I think, 250 red wiggler worms from Uncle Jim's Worm Farm. And you can find them on Amazon. But I created this worm bin out of just a Rubbermaid tote. I got this at Target. It's just one of these basic totes. Let me see if I can, there we go, maybe bring you guys down. I drilled holes all along the top of it for ventilation so that airflow could come in and out. And then I just started with a layer of shredded newspaper, grass clippings, so that is what we would call brown material, and then added in some old dirt from pots that I hadn't planted things in a long time, dirt that I wasn't using, added eggshells, coffee grounds, and then buried some food scraps. So how you do a worm bin is you put in your organic matter, you dig a hole, like a little trench, so that's like a sweet potato, put in that organic matter, and then bury it. And what it turns into over time, the worms will all come to this side and start eating that organic matter. So once it's been a couple of months, you can actually go to the other side where the worms are not so populated because they're over here eating all this goodness. And, oh, here's the wormy. I'll show you. Oh, here we go. This is just a little guy. I don't think you can probably see it really well. Hey, there you go. Big debut again. It turns into these worm castings, and they do look like coffee grounds. And these are super nutritious for the garden. So what I do is I use these whenever I'm putting new plants into the garden. I dig my hole to put my plant transplant in. And before I pop the plant in, I just pop in like a little scoop, a little bit goes a long way, of worm castings, just to give that plant some extra love before it starts establishing in the garden and growing. This is a really easy thing to do even in like an apartment. I'm gonna pop you guys up. Thing to do like even in an apartment, because worms are really good roommates. Like, they're not stinky, they're not loud, they're great pets. My toddler loves helping me feed the worm bin, so it's a fun family project to do together. And again, like, you'll know something is off if it's really stinky, really moldy. Maybe you're adding in too much food and they're not having time to break it down. Maybe you need more brown matter in there instead of just adding food scraps all the time. So again, you have to feel it out, but again, eggshells, everything you put in a compost can go in here. Paper, cardboard, eggshells, coffee grounds, fruit and veggie scraps. Just no meat, no dairy, and we don't add in onions or citrus to this as well. So yeah, worms, they're good for the earth. Another important note about the worm bin is that you want to keep it moist, and your compost as well. So you don't want things to be like too dried out, like cracking, dirt, things like that. So make sure you add some moisture, which could just be like watering it really like maybe every couple of weeks if you need to. So again, it goes back to that kind of feeling it thing, but especially with the worms, they will dry out and shrivel and die if you don't keep it moist enough. So I always just open it up and sometimes just get my like watering can and water it in just to give them some extra moisture. Okay, I think that is it. Please comment below with any questions you have. Subscribe if you'd like to follow along with more little backyard gardening hacks. And let me know what you guys want to see. That's super helpful because I kind of know more than I think I know sometimes. So when a topic comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, we've been trying that for a while. Let me share our experience. Anyways, may you find the bounty in your own life and all the beauty that it holds, and we'll see you guys soon.